What's up, Liverpool fans? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are much happier today after some time to digest after that brutal loss yesterday to Brighton. As always, your host today, Steve here, and my main man, Holmes, out in London. Andrew's off tonight, but we have a very special episode. We brought in our good friend, Dan from LFC Transfer Room for a nice quick transfer roundup. Some of the things that we're going to cover, the January window, we're going to analyze the players that we brought in. We're going to take a peek at who went out, and also discuss some of the links that up to other players that we were connected to, how truthful they were, and just kind of the process behind Liverpool's January window. And then to close it out, we're going to look ahead to the summer window, talk about some potential rumors there, and is Haaland and Mbappe a possibility? We'll find out. But like we said, we have Dan joining us today. Dan, thanks so much for joining us, man. How are you?
Hey guys, thank you for letting me be in one more time. It's good to be back, and it's good to be here talking about transfers. That's our bread and butter. So
yeah, we appreciate you coming on. This is I know we've done a couple podcasts together in the past, but this is the first time on YouTube, so definitely appreciate you doing this. It should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, let's get right into it, because obviously the January window for Liverpool fans was pretty eventful. I think we all thought it was going to go one way, kind of went a different direction there at the end. But let's start with the two players that we brought in, and let's start with the first guy. I want to talk a little bit about Ben Davies. What can you tell us about the process in recruiting him, and then ultimately what he's going to bring to the side? His strengths and weaknesses, and why Klopp and Edwards thought he'd be a good fit for the squad.
Absolutely. Well, starting with Davis, it was a very unexpected signing. Not only from our end, but it was also from Preston's end. We actually had a talk with one of their local journals. We did a small interview, and they were saying from our end, and they were saying that basically not even their fans expected Liverpool to go for one of the players, because it's not an everyday thing that this happens. In fact, I believe that most of the rumors that were going around him, it was for him to go to Celtic. There was some interest in Bournemouth and a few other Premier League sides that are actually more in the lower half of the table. So it was a huge surprise. By the looks of it, you guys should know by now that Liverpool don't just scout 3, 4, 5 players per position. It's even been revealed that they scout 20, 30, 40 players. So by recent reports, it's been said that we've been scouting Davis for 2 or 3 years now already. So this signing is not a panic signing, unlike many people think it is. This is a planned signing. This is a player that we've been watching for years. This is a player that we have their analytical metrics, numbers, everything for a few years now. So if we ended, how meticulous our team and club and Edwards are. If we actually went in for him, it's because we know that he's going to perform well in all the areas that we want him for. Sorry, I went a little too long in the whole basics of it, but as far as he goes for the player, he's a very quick and fast center back, which is one of the main things that we need in our team. Despite not being the tallest, which obviously is his weakness as a defender, he is pretty good with headers. That's the main thing that we need to improve on. He's been very, very solid at the back line, one of the championship's main center backs, the best center backs in the championship. And then it was basically a huge opportunity for everybody, really, because he was willing to let go his contract to an end. And that's where Celtic were going to come in and take it for free in the summer. So for Preston to get $2 million out of him, and for him to come to the Premier League and the Premier League champions, is a win-win for everybody, really.
Dan, just with Davis, do you see him as someone that's really going to start Premiership games or Champions League games, or do you see him as going to be like the fourth man, utility man, if we're doing a dead rubber game we're going to play him in?
So the way that I see it, I do see him as a patch. I think he just came in to save us for 6 months, and then we're not going to see more of him. But that being said, I don't know if you guys remember when Ragnar Klavan came in and he started playing next to Virgil van Dijk, or when Dejan Lovren started playing next to Virgil van Dijk. I mean, anybody that comes to this Liverpool side and starts playing and training next to these world-class players, they suddenly become really, really good. So at this moment, I think he is definitely a huge prospect, despite being 25 years old. I feel like there's a huge room of potential, and if he can manage to prove himself in the team, we will see a different player. One thing I will tell you guys, despite him being really good in the championship, do not expect immediate results in the next weeks, even month. You know how long it takes for a player to adjust. This is a huge jump, and Virgil van Dijk is not going to be there to play next to him, so we won't really see like the true potential of Davis. But it is definitely someone that is going to help us in the short term. It's really up to him. I feel like we should put more hope into Kabak, but of course, it's really up to Davis and see what he can prove for us.
Well, I just love the signing. I like the signing of Davis for a couple things. Number one, as I think if somehow he does end up staying for longer than just these 6 months, I think he was a guy that is super comfortable with being the fourth or fifth option and not getting a ton of minutes. So I think just from a chemistry standpoint, I think that would be okay. And then, kind of like you said, if he doesn't have a long future with us, it seems like we got a bargain at $2 million. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw a few different articles where coaches and evaluators were saying that they were valuing him around £10 million. So, even if it doesn't work out long term, it seems like a pretty solid stopgap, a guy that we can use in a couple different ways. And then, hey, like maybe we can make a quick buck and a quick turnaround. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, so going on to our next signing, Kabak, what can you tell us about Kabak in terms of his strengths, weaknesses, and what he'll bring to the side? Because obviously there's been a lot of people who are criticising Kabak for Schalke being bottom of the league, the Bundesliga, criticising the fact that maybe he's not as produced as really great stats being at Schalke this season. But what can you tell us about him?
Well, Ozan is a really, really exciting player. As you guys know, the rumors heating up starting last year. He's one of you gotta admit that even though he looks older, he's just 20 years old. So he's still a very, very young player. He's gonna make a lot of mistakes. Everybody knows the speeding incident. I mean, it is something that we do not want to really touch on. So let's kind of like shift away from that and let's talk more about his attributes, his physicality, and things like that. One of the main things I can tell you that he's going to bring to the side that surprisingly I had no idea about until yesterday is that David Wagner actually was the one that recommended this player to Jurgen Klopp. Not only because of how good he was, but mainly because of the personality that he has. He is a leader. He is going to be that player. Supposedly, David Wagner was telling Klopp that he is going to end up as a captain one point because he just brings that presence to the back line. And, leaders is something that we're actually missing right now, especially after Lallana left. He was one of our captains. Milner is getting towards that end of his contract. He's probably going to be good for 1-2 more years. Virgil, despite still being in our team, he is not really involved in training and things like that or in games. Hendo is currently in the back line, so there's really nobody to command in the middle or in the front. So having Kabak in, maybe putting him in the back, shifting Hendo to the middle is going to give us more of a leading presence, solid presence. He's very, very good at aerial duels, despite being 6'2" or 6'1". I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but we saw his stats, and he is the leading on aerial duels as far as U20s goes in the top 5 in Europe, the top 5 leagues. So despite not being the tallest, he's really good at aerial duels. He's been solid. In fact, Simon Hughes recently came in an interview with The Athletic with David Arnstein, and he said that Liverpool see him as the next Andrew Robertson. He was struggling with Hull City. He wasn't giving the best performances with them. They got relegated. They were doing pretty bad as far as the club went itself, but they know they can bring on a huge prospect and player out of him. So if, as far as fans go, trying to kind of forget in the position that Schalke is in, forget about the spitting incident, yes, forget about all the managers that they've been through. This is going to be a new beginning for him. Just kind of like let's focus on his attributes and stuff because he's a great player and he's only 20, so it's only going to get better from him.
Well, and in terms of Kabak, what about his passing range? Is he able to do like long range passes like Van Dijk does, switch of plays, or is he more of like more of a no nonsense defender?
He does. In fact, that's one of the two qualities that these two players actually have, which is Osun Kabak and also Ben Davies. They both have pretty similar attributes as far as passing goes. Now, it's probably not the best as we could have gotten with someone like Khalid Takar, who was so close to joining us. He was magnificent with long range passes. David Carmo, believe it or not, was also incredible with long range passes. So we're gonna start seeing a pattern. Every single defender that Liverpool are going to be looking into, they're going to be pretty good with long range passes. They're also going to be really good with speed and things like that. So yeah, he is good. But again, what we see now is not what we can see in a year or two. So in a year or two, we can see a much better player, so much improved. So at the moment, let's just kind of try to look for someone solid at the back so we can start moving our midfielders to their actual position. But yeah, he has those attributes, and he's pretty good at them too.
Do you have any insight into into Edwards' negotiations with Schalke? Because everything that we heard this summer, because obviously Kabak was linked to us in the summer, we were hearing valuations around 35 million, and now the fact that it's a loan with an option to buy, and the buy option is only 18 million. Is that really just Schalke knowing that they're probably going to go down this season and just get any sort of revenue that they can, or is there something else going on here that maybe happened behind the scenes?
I mean, this was just an incredible deal from Michael Edwards. It's just ridiculous how good he is. I mean, so Schalke is obviously in a pretty bad financial situation. We all know they're in debt right now with millions and millions of dollars. They have to start selling some players. I'm actually pretty surprised of how they managed to keep up a few of their stars. But Liverpool know this. They were willing to wait because, like I said, this guy is 20 years old. So they know that if they wait maybe 6 months, not only the situation with Schalke is going to get worse, their finances is going to be worse. So yes, they wanted a 35 million bid for Kabak, but Liverpool were willing to actually take the risk, wait a little bit longer, and see if after COVID and with because everybody's going to be hit by COVID, but especially those lower league clubs are going to be hit pretty bad. So that's what they did. I mean, they waited, and now they're willing to sell him for 18 million, which is ridiculous. But not only that, we got a loan from them. So if it doesn't work out, we're just going to give them back. We're going to give Schalke their player. And we're going to get him for 18 million, which is absolutely magnificent. So yes, it looks like we took advantage of their situation, but this is football, and football is a business. So Michael Edwards just found the best way possible to make a deal happen, and this is basically what we got.
Just want to read a chat here. Dan, someone's asking you, are you going to admit that Davies is better than Kalatar?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it was SD. I love Khalid Takar. I mean, I have no idea that we were willing to pursue him so badly. But he's just magnificent. The way that I see him as another Van Dijk. I mean, he's tall. He has that pass range, and he's pretty solid. He does make mistakes here and there, but like I was telling you guys earlier, as soon as you start partnering up next to the best defender in the world, you're going to see a lot of improvement. But no, Khalid Takar is definitely a player that I would love to see in the summer. And if not him, maybe Bodman or someone else. But I love currently Khalid Takar, and I'm just so gutted that he didn't come to Liverpool.
Well, and before we start talking about the next signing that we brought in, I actually kind of want to talk about the center backs that we were linked to, because we were linked to Khalid Takar, we were linked to Carmo, and it seemed like there was some loose links to Botman. We actually had James Pearce on, and he seemed to believe that the Botman links weren't very true. But can you kind of give us some insight? I know we talked a little bit before we went live, but really, Liverpool's pursuit of center backs in January. Who was their top options, and ultimately what ended up happening with Kaleta and Carmo for us not to bring them in.
Absolutely. So as far as we know, from all the links and reports that have been going out, we know that there was 4 center backs other than the ones that we actually got already that Liverpool were interested in, right? So you got number 1 is David Carmo, number 2 Kaleta, which obviously everybody knows about by now. Demiral is the third one, and Bodman is the one that everybody wants. That links were pretty unreliable and just up and down, right? Mm-hmm. So by the looks of it, if you guys were following us at LFC Transfer Room, we posted every single link possible, and it seemed like David Carmo was actually our first choice. Liverpool were always going to get 2 center backs. That was the plan. And then David Carmo was actually our first choice as far as loan went. Braga actually weren't willing to let him go. So we had 2 bids rejected for him. After the first one, you already know that Liverpool are interested. But once they send the second one, you know that they really want him. Similar to the Jamal Lewis situation last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but we did send one offer of 10 million for Jamal Lewis. And after that, Liverpool were like, okay, you're not going to take it. I'm just going to move into Costas Amicas. That's not something that it looks like they did with David Carmo. They sent one, they rejected it. They sent another one, and they rejected it again. Wow. So it looks like he was our first option. He's huge. I think he's like 6'5", 6'4", something like that. Yeah. That's the first one. The surprise one was Kaleta, which I had no idea about until the day of deadline or one day before deadline day. Pretty solid links, pretty solid sources. In fact, I was surprised that FSG were willing to go out and put out $2 million on the table in January, which didn't happen. And then I believe that those 2 were our priorities right now, Kaleta and David Carmo. And I was telling you guys, it could have been an amazing transfer window if we managed to pull out those 2. But then we moved to the last 2, and that is Bodman and also Demiral from Juventus. All the links coming from Italy and Turkey regarding Demiral, they're from pretty unreliable sources. I know that there's a couple of sites that were saying that we actually put a bid down on the table, but these are from pretty iffy sources, so more than likely they're not true. In fact, the fee was being quoted as 55 million, 60 million, which is pretty ridiculous considering that Demiral has a pretty bad injury record. Mm-hmm. So we can scratch that one out of the line. And the last one was Bodman, which came in last minute. So from pretty reliable sources, actually local reporters. So it said that we actually tried to manage a swap deal involving Divock Origi. As you guys know, Divock Origi used to play for Lille. So so it looks like they wanted him to again. And if you think about it, let's say that if they want for Bodman, maybe they're going to be looking in for, with their financial situation, something around 20, 25 million, 30 million. If you throw in Divock Origi, that's like 10 million less, which is going to leave you with 20 million, which is basically what we're going to spend on Kaleta. So it kind of makes sense, it makes sense. It looks like we did wanted Bodman, and we did wanted David Carmo and obviously Kaleta, but other clubs just rejected the opportunity for us to go and get him because when you plan an approach on deadline day, you don't get time to go and look for a replacement. So it's pretty unlikely that a club is going to let go of their stars players, Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Dan, so was it a strategy of FSG to wait to the final day because they were getting lower prices, or was it FSG just failing to act? Because that's what I'm just trying to figure out here. Because obviously there's a lot of people who are blaming FSG for not acting on the 1st of January. And there's some people, obviously, like Dave Maddock, I think, wrote a report saying that Liverpool went for the best financial risk rather than the best quality available. So, what was it? Was it geared out to wait to the final day, or was it FSG failing to act?
I mean, absolutely not. I mean, I know most people on socials and Twitter, they all hate FSG, and they all do really blame them because of this situation. Yes, they were not willing to spend all January. That's something that even club said we cannot do because we're not going to take a risk and a gamble right now in this current financial situation. But everything changed as soon as Matip and Fabinho got injured. This is not something that club was expecting. This is not something that FSG was expecting. So as soon as this happened, they started looking out for replacements. So I feel like the 2 players that we got are not the players that club was looking for. I mean, obviously, we show interest in them, but I feel like those are the best players that FSG. In what sense? It makes a lot of financial sense to get these 2 deals, because if Ozan Kabak doesn't work, like I was telling you guys, we just send him back. If Davis just doesn't work, we sell him. Like right now, I can guarantee that his price tag immediately tripled, if not times 4. We pay $2 million. We're definitely going to sell him for $10 million at least. So those are deals that definitely make financial sense for FSG. But like we said in past reports, they were willing to take the risk and pay $20 million up front for Kalitakar. So yes, it makes sense for them, but just keep in mind that yes, they were also willing to spend last minute, of course, but they were willing to spend and give club what he wanted. So I don't think it's really what they wanted. In a perfect world for them, it would have been better for no signings at all and just keep Fabinho and Matip fit. But it didn't happen, and that's why we got what we got at the moment, which is pretty good for us fans if we think about it.
Yeah. I think so just one question, Steve. I think the question is, why couldn't we have bid for Kalatar like 4 days earlier if we were willing to pay 20 million for him? Why wait to the final day?
Absolutely. It seems like FSG didn't want to buy him, didn't want to buy a defender now. They want to buy a defender in the summer. So that's why. So if they were willing to spend, they were willing to spend in the summer, and has been said publicly that Liverpool are actually preparing for a huge summer where we are going to get a defender. Everybody has said it. It's no secret already. So it looks like they were willing to do it, but in the summer, not now. So it looks like plans just got out of their hands, and they just had to act faster and sooner. The problem being is that now in the summer, when summer comes, if Liverpool tried to approach Kalitakar and buy him, trust me, they're not going to get him for 20 million now, because now Marcelo knows that we want him badly. All of the clubs in the world know that we want him, and they're going to want him too. So they're definitely going to raise that price tag, and that is something that Liverpool did not want. That is part of the strategy, keeping everything a secret. So the moment that we try to reach for a player, we get the best deal. And obviously, it's not going to happen when we try to approach anybody in the summer, really.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good point. Liverpool always likes to be under the radar because of that stuff. Like I remember the Fabinho deal came out of nowhere, and obviously we see how that's worked out for us. But Julian in the chat has had a quick question. You kind of touched on it, but he likes to think that if we moved quicker, we probably would have gotten 3 center backs. Do you think there was ever any conversation of potentially adding 3 center backs this window?
No, not at all. In fact, I don't think we were going to add any center backs at all whatsoever. We were lucky to get 2. In fact, I think that nobody really expected this situation. Van Dijk, Gomez, Fabinho, Matip. But I think they were willing to bring in 1, and then suddenly we got Matip and also Fabinho. So then they were going to get 2. 3 in this moment doesn't really make sense, because not only we're going to have too many players at the center back position, so eventually someone's going to have to go, and just imagining just bringing 3 players in and then having to get rid of 2, it really doesn't make sense. Not only for the price that you pay for them, but also you're going to have to be paying their wages. So in this moment right now, bringing players is not something that FSG or the club wants to do. So, yeah, I don't think 3 was a possibility. Heck, I don't even think 2 was a possibility. I'm just happy that we got 2 at this moment.
Yeah, I hear you there. But I think everyone forgets about the sign that we had at the beginning of the window. Goalkeeper Marcelo Pitaluga, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Brazilian guy. Seems that he has a very bright future. I've only heard good things about him, but what can you tell us about, our pursuit of him and, why Liverpool wanted to add another young goalie to the squad?
Yeah, so by the looks of it, it seems like he was more of a player recommended to the team. People that know Brazilian league, and I'm not saying that I know because I don't. I actually just learned about this. They know that Pitaluga is one of the best upcoming youngsters in the country itself. So he was bound to come to Europe eventually. Now the relationship that Alisson had with his brother, as you guys know, Alisson's brother Muriel, he actually plays for Fluminense, and he was the one that actually recommended him, and as well as their goalkeeping coach was telling Alisson, "Hey, you got to tell the club, bring this kid, bring this kid." So Alisson approved. The scouts approved because obviously this is not like people say in the media that suddenly one player recommends another player and then the team is going to buy him. No, our scouts approve of him. The numbers were pretty good, and it was a deal that made sense. Like I was telling you guys, it looks like he is going to be the next big thing. Hopefully, we're planning on making him the successor for Alisson. He is like 17 years old, so obviously don't expect this in 2, 3, maybe not even 4 or 5 years, but it looks like that's what we're trying to look and get from him. And then also we're going to be getting rid of a lot of goalkeepers. If you think about it, Adrian is going to go. It doesn't look like Loris Carey is gonna stay. Sadly, everybody knows that I'm a huge fan, and even though everybody hates him, it looks like he's going to be going. We're going to be getting rid of what's the name of this other young goalkeeper that we have? Oh, Grabara.
Yeah.
So I mean, we do need goalkeepers, whether that's for our academy or whether that's for our first team. We need to start building in young players that can take that spot because we're in a very, very vulnerable situation as far as goalkeeping goes. We didn't expect Kelleher to be that good, or at least that solid. So, but now that we know that he's solid, we can be in a more the Pacific state, because we now have Kelleher. We have all these new youngsters, because I don't know if you guys know, we brought in like 2 other goalkeepers to the academy, young goalkeepers. So it looks like we got 2 or 3 goalkeepers in the academy. So our future is bright. We should be in good hands, and that's one of the main reasons why we went for Pitaluga.
Okay, I think there's also like another youngster that's been lighting up the championship. I think we linked to him like about a month ago, Michael Lissi, and just want to know: I know quite a lot of teams have scouted him, but are there any truths? And also, why? I was expecting Liverpool to like snap him up in January, because the rumors are he's got an 8 million release clause. So I was seeing like him as a great person, and since we're buying all the best youngsters in the country, we keep doing. So like, what can you tell us about Michael Lissi? Are there actual genuine concrete links that Liverpool want to buy him?
Absolutely, it is no secret that the interest is there. The only problem with him is that unlike other youngsters that are more under the radar, Michael Ollis is one player that is probably going to have 5 up to 10 up to 15 clubs wanting to get him. I was talking to Ben. Ben is one of our contributors. He actually created this website called First Time Finish, and they actually interview Michael Ollis' academy coach. So they went a little bit into his background, and they talked to him, and they said that Michael Ollis has been the best youngster in the country in every age that he's been to. So as soon as he was, he had the opportunity to go to any Premier League club academy, but he decided to go to Preston. Not Preston, sorry. I believe it was, Reading. Because he wants to go slowly, because as you guys know now, if you start taking rash decisions and moving into a top side, you're not going to get minutes. You run the risk of just suddenly not being up to standard. So it looks like he's a very, very smart guy. He has a very smart management team behind him. And it looks like he has 10 to 15 clubs wanting him. So the competition is going to be huge. In the summer, which looks more likely, people are going to try to snatch him up, and we are one of the interested parties. But he's going to have different options to go to, and it's going to be really hard to pursue. I know Bayern Munich wants him, Chelsea wants him. So at this point, it really is about, are Liverpool willing to pay the release clause, which is pretty high for a youngster, but still he's one of the best players in the championship. Are Liverpool willing to give him high wages. So it's going to become more of a competition now rather than we should go for him right now, especially with the financial situation that the club is in,
Mm-hmm.
I think Julian's got a good point here. He says that Olise would be an excellent replacement for Chamberlain.
Absolutely. But you got to, well, like we already said, the club is not willing to spend in January unless it's an emergency. In this case, a center back position. Would he be a good replacement? A good replacement for Chamberlain? Yes, but you also gotta take into consideration his age. He is 19 years old. He doesn't have experience in the Premier League. If you ask me right now, who do I play? Like we're losing 2-0. Who do I play? Michael Olise or Oxlade-Chamberlain? I will definitely play Oxlade-Chamberlain because of experience, because of he already knows the Premier League. So that is something that you're missing on Michael per se. So it is a risk. Michael Olise's release clause is very close to what we played for Oxlade-Chamberlain. So it's a huge risk that you're going to be taking there. So if you're going to be looking at replacements, it has to be, in my opinion, be someone more of the looks of the age of Diogo Jota, that comes from the Premier League, comes with experience, and is also not that young, but it is young. Diogo Jota is like, 23 or something like that? So he is young, but he also has experience. If you're looking for a replacement in our team, that's what we need to aim for. Per se, Harvey Elliott cannot be the replacement for Salah or Mane right now because, the kid just turned 18 or 17. So we got to be realistic here. We need to go for someone that can offer us experience and solidity, in the field.
Yeah. So when you think about this team now, obviously, we're struggling. I think there's definitely a sign that we need to strengthen, especially with all the injuries that we've been having and just the injury-prone players that we have. Now, you mentioned that Liverpool's gearing for a big summer. Where do you see the team potentially strengthening in the summer?
At the moment, I think the main thing we need to focus on is not really strengthening, is going to be departures. Liverpool need to get rid of a lot of players that really are not up to standard as far as ability goes before we start thinking about what to bring in. Because I could say right now, let's bring Jadon Sancho for 100 million. And you know what, let's bring, I don't know, like a different winger. And then we're going to have a surplus of players that are not good enough in our team at the moment. Shaqiri, as much as I love him, and I think he's a great addition in our team, he is very injury prone. And at the moment, he's not able to fit in tactically as far as club wants. Divock Origi, I personally believe he's definitely Premier League standard. I just don't think he's top 4, top 6 standards. I could see him playing for someone like Burnley, someone like Brighton, but I don't see him playing in a top Premier League team. So we need to get rid of him as well. Players like that we need to start getting rid of. Harry Wilson is going to come back. We need to get rid of Harry Wilson. I know we spoke with you guys last time. We still have Harry Wilson. I don't know how. I know the kid is bright, but he is not up to standards. He's not having the best time at Cardiff. So we need to get rid of him. So there's a lot of players that we need to get rid of. If we are going to strengthen, we need to get a backup striker for sure. Diogo Jota is amazing as a striker, but at the same time, he's been amazing as a winger. So I feel like Diogo Jota was someone that we brought in with thought of actually maybe not replacing Firmino, but having someone to back up Firmino. But being that he's so good at the wings, I feel like we got someone that can easily back up or replace eventually Mane or Salah. So now we need to bring someone that can actually help Firmino out. We need a deadly goal scorer, someone tall. So forward is definitely one position that I think we should bring in after we get rid of a lot of deadwood, Center backs, we already spoke about it. We have a short-term solution now. We'll see what happens in the summer, depending on how they do. And I absolutely think we have a surplus of midfielders right now. We do need to bring someone in. I don't know what's going to happen with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, with Naby Keita. I love them both to bits. I don't know what's going to happen to Wijnaldum. It seems like he's going to be leaving for free. But that's 3 players already there that we're pretty uncertain with their future. So if they happen to all go, we will need someone that can break down the lines. And I cannot stress this enough. We need a Coutinho replacement. Obviously, forget about Philippe Coutinho, but we need a player that can be quick, that can be pretty cheeky, and then break down midfields and defenders. That is something that we're still missing up to date. And some people are saying, "Oh, Thiago Alcantara or Coutinho replace him." No, he's not. I'm not going to say that he's lazy, but he's more of a still player. He stays behind. He looks for spaces, but he's not a player that is going to run and start breaking down defenses. Naby Keita is maybe that player. He shows a lot of a bad injury record, so we cannot rely on him. So that's what we need to bring to this team. Someone up front and maybe someone in midfield that can play as an attacking midfielder as well as a winger,
Mm-hmm.
Just a question. So, what do you? Because Julian's talking about here. What do you think about Marco Grujic? Has he got a future at Liverpool? Or do you get rid of him?
Oh man, that's a tricky question right here because I really like the way that he's been playing for his clubs on loan. That's someone that we all saw as maybe eventually a Jordan Henderson replacement. If you ask me at the moment, I feel like he doesn't have a future in the club, mainly because during last summer, Liverpool were looking actively into selling Marco Grujic, and that's already a bad sign, As soon as you have one player in the transfer market, you know that the club is going to get rid of him, and it's not really on their plans. I think he's going to leave, but of course, my main hope is for him to be Jordan Henderson's backup, mainly for his size, mainly for. I mean, he's not really a youngster anymore. He's like 25, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's to come, he needs to make an impact now. So next season's preseason is going to be a really important time for Marco Grujic to prove himself, because he's not going to have the time to accustom to the league and the players around him. He needs to go there and make an impact and tell club, hey, I'm made for this. I can do this. Because if not, he's gonna be gone.
Dan, when we first got Grujic, he was supposed to be the new Balak, box-to-box goal scorer. Like, what is his best position? Because I know throughout his loans, Warnock played at defensive midfield. Like, is he a defensive midfielder? Is he attacking midfielder? Like, what's his best position now?
It seems like he's not a defensive midfielder. It seems like teams and clubs are just playing him there because of his size. I'm not wrong. I'm not sure. I think he's like 6'1" or 6'2", and that's the main reason why they're playing him back there. He is a player that plays better next to another midfielder on the team. If I'm not wrong, under Hertha last season, he was playing with someone next to him, and that gave him the freedom to go up and down, box to box, whether that's as a number 10 or whether that's going back and defending. He needs someone to play next to him, and the only problem is the clubs are going to start playing him as a defensive midfielder because of his size. Yes, he's good at tackling, but that's not really what brings the best out of him, Similar to Jordan Henderson. If you play in a defensive midfielder, of course you're going to get a pretty decent performance. Is that the best for him? We know that it's not the best. We know that playing Henderson on the side next to an actual defensive midfielder it was going to be best to bring the best out of him, So I feel like that's a pretty similar situation that we got with Grujic.
Interesting. Yeah, I always hoped that he would find a way to make the team. I just think his height just kind of brings something different that we don't have. But so thinking ahead to the summer and kind of what we need, I think we kind of discussed, creative midfielder, another defender. James Pearson, he was on with us last week. He mentioned that Liverpool have identified like their number one defensive target for the summer. Like, who do you see as some realistic names that Liverpool could potentially go after and sign?
Well, let's start with the main one, which is Divock Origi's replacement. I really don't know how he's still playing for us, but I feel like he needs to go. I love him, by the way, but he is, even for his own career, he needs to shine. I feel like he deserves to shine because he's a great player. He has a lot in him, but he's meant for a different team. So we need to look for a replacement for him. I feel like the best option right now would be Patson Daka from RB Salzburg. He's young, he's tall, he's quick, he's a great finisher. I'm not sure about statistics because we recently made a post about him, but I feel like he scored 12 12 or 13 goals in 10 appearances or in 12 appearances. So he's scoring like a goal per day. I mean, per game, if you think about it. So these are kind of Erling Haaland type of stats, you know. So he's a great player. I feel like he has all the attributes as far as physical attributes and technical attributes to replace Origi and maybe be even better than him. So I think he's one that we should totally look into. Is not going to come in too expensive. We can probably see something like 15 to 20 million in there. And once you get rid of, you know, Kabak and Shaqiri and Harry Wilson, I mean, there's a ton of players that we can name to get rid of. I feel like we can easily pay for that. Now, I feel like our number one target is Dayot Upamecano. I don't think that is possible because I think Bayern Munich are one foot ahead of the race. So it looks like he's going to be going there. But he seems like our main target at the moment. So if you were to ask me who we should go for, I feel like we should go for either Kaleta or Bodman. One of the two are perfect targets. Just one of them has more experience than the other, which is Kaleta. So I think one of the two are going to be the ones that are going to be partnering up next to Van Dijk in the long term, if we get them, of course. That's the second one that I don't think we're going to get Konate, mainly because he does have a release clause, yes, but mainly because of his injury record. Upamecano's injury record is not the best. Konate's is basically Upamecano's times 2. Is worse. So I don't think Liverpool are ready to go in and buy another Daniel Sturridge at center back, you know?
Right.
So those are two that I can name. Now we need to go and get a Gini Wijnaldum replacement. One that actually impressed me a lot, and I didn't think that he was going to be that good, was Bissouma from Brighton. He's incredible. Looks like he has all the capabilities to play in that Genie role. And but mainly, I believe he knows how to play as a defensive midfielder really well. So I was looking him up the other day, and it looks like he's able to play in those two positions very well. And that's already a plus, you know. So if you ask me, maybe Patson Daka, get someone like Bodman or Kaleta, and then get Bissouma if Genie leaves, of course.
Dan, just to throw a span in the works there, like in terms of Liverpool going forward, don't you think we need a goal scorer midfielder because rather than a Genie replacement? Because if you look at our games, we're heavily reliant on our strikers to score goals. If they don't score goals, we don't score. And if you compare us to like Man City, they're having like De Bruyne, Gundogan, they're getting goals from all over the place. But we are struggling right now to score goals. And none of our midfielders really ever take the risk and get in the box or take shots. And like last night again, we saw the need of someone that's willing to take a shot from outside the box or just willing to take a risk. So like, isn't this a time for us to like reshape the midfield? Now Ginny's going and potentially go for, you know how when we wanted like Fekir that summer, we wanted Fabinho, Keita, Fekir midfield. Mm-hmm. Isn't it time for us to rather go for like an R or who's that Indonesia guy? De Paul, Rodrigo De Paul is going to score goals from midfield rather than get another Ginny replacement?
I mean, if you ask me from a fan perspective, of course, I'm going to give you two perspectives, actually. From a fan perspective and from my personal opinion, I think we do need, I mean, I just said it, I feel like we need a Coutinho replacement or maybe someone of the same type of attributes. But thinking more, I feel like we need to put ourselves in FSG's and Klopp's shoes. Let's try to think logical. And we know even though we want them, I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like what Jurgen Klopp was actually working on was bringing Thiago, having Keita full and fit, and then you have two players that can actually be offer more threat into attacks, you know, because front three is there, Diogo Jota is there, and if you add Naby Keita and if you add Thiago, you're going to get more goals. But
Keita's always injured. Keita's always injured. Like third season indicator, he's injured 9% of the time. Can we really continue to rely on injury-prone players?
That's a problem, and that's where I don't think we should. But knowing Club, he's so persistent with his players. I mean, it's been already what 2-3 years with Keita, and
Yeah.
he's been loyal with him. How many years has it been with Chamberlain? 2, 3. He's just so loyal with him, and it doesn't seem like he's willing to let go. He's pretty stubborn with those type of things. So unless we see one of them leave, like Chamberlain or Keita, I don't think we're gonna bring someone in because Club is still gonna be stubborn. Club is still gonna want to stick with them too. And Shaqiri, I mean, hopefully we get rid of Shaqiri, but it seems like Club is gonna stick with those for now, unless something drastically happens. Then we can look in for someone like you were saying, Jose Mawar, great player. I'm actually a huge fan of his partner, Lucas Paqueta, who just moved to Lyon. Had a horrible season horrible few seasons at AC Milan, and is now one of the best midfielders in the League One. I feel like we need someone like that, I mean, a creative midfielder. But being realistic, are we going to get one? I feel like unless Keita and Chamberlain leave, no, I don't think we're going to bring someone in.
It's disappointing, Dan. I was really hoping to get for some more positivity in that midfield spot, but hey, I understand. I appreciate the honesty. But this is kind of a hot topic for me because I think if it wasn't for COVID, I would know what the answer is, but I'm really curious about this. Do you think that there is potential that one of the front three could leave this summer?
I don't think so. I don't really think so. I feel like one is, of course, more vulnerable than others, and that is Mo Salah, as we all know. It doesn't really help all the stuff that he's done recently with doing interviews with the Spanish media. People need to realize this is not a fact about just suddenly a random outlet comes to you and asks for an interview and you give it. No. So what media does is they approach you. They need to get clearance from the club. They need to get clearance from your team and everything. And then you have to schedule something, and then it happens. So this was a premeditated thing, okay? This is not something that just randomly happened. No, this is something that was already planned. This is something that it was coming. So the fact that he didn't really control his comments, especially knowing how bad Spanish media is with twisting words, is just a huge letdown. So I think this is just going to add more fire into a possible departure. Do I think any of them are going to leave? No. I think, just like I was telling you, Holmes, Club is really, really stubborn and really loyal to his players. So I feel like he's going to stick with his front three. If we're ever going to bring someone in, it's going to be just for backup. So I don't think that we're going to lose anybody as far as the front three goes. But I do feel like what Mo did made him more vulnerable for an exit. So it doesn't really help us with the fact that he's scoring goals almost every game, because that's just going to increase his value. And that's just going to make Liverpool give him a huge offer, which I think is what he wants now and what his team wants, an extension that can just have him settle for the next years to come. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to lose him, but I definitely feel like Mo is the most likely to if we were going to lose someone.
So, just question. So, in terms of Thiago, so I saw, I think it was someone posted a recent stat on Twitter, and they were showing a comparison between Thiago at Bayern and Thiago at Liverpool. And they were showing that since his time at Liverpool, his dribbles per game have gone down, his heat maps decreased in terms of the amount of ground he covers, and in terms of the amount of where he picks up the ball, in terms of inputs of the game, has actually changed as well. So, the basic comparison was that even with Naby Keita, when he was at Leipzig, he was far more effective player than he is at Liverpool. So, do you feel that Liverpool are getting the best out of Thiago? And how can we ensure that we actually are utilising his skills? Because sometimes in games, I feel that we play him too deep, and he's not having a massive impact in terms of helping us break low blocks.
Absolutely. I feel like we were going to get the best out of Thiago once we played Henderson on one side and Thiago in the other with Fabinho in the middle. And we actually saw this in the Everton game, if I'm not wrong, because we did play, I feel, was Fabinho, Henderson, and Thiago, and everybody just was amazed with what he can do. I mean, if you ask me, the Thiago that we saw at the Everton game and the Thiago that you're seeing now is a totally different Thiago. Why? Because of the people that he's playing with in midfield. Currently, you have Jordan Henderson as a center back, so you don't have it in midfield. Currently, there's not a massive presence in defensive midfielder like Fabinho. That club suddenly puts Thiago as a number 6. So now he has to do the defensive work. Or he has Gini, who although does really good as number 6, he doesn't have the presence, the size, or the pass range that Henderson or even Fabinho has. So I feel like the only time that we will see the best out of Thiago or the real Thiago will be once we put Fabinho and Henderson back in that midfield. And that could be soon with Kabak and Davis in the team. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel like it's going to happen soon, just not now until we get those 2 players.
Spot on, Julian. Yeah, he's followed them up perfectly. You guys did the same thing. Yeah, once Fabinho and Henderson get in there, that's when we see the Thiago. And I completely agree. Once he can stop being so deep and give him some more freedom with 2 defensive midfielders behind him, I think that's when we'll really see the best of him. But a little bit of a funner point. How much of a pipe dream is it to think that we could potentially get a guy like Mbappe or Haaland into this team?
Oh, this is a really good one. This is a really, really good topic that we're going to touch on here because I have a bunch of reports and stuff that I've been going over and saving because it's looking really likely and really, really exciting. I know if you just suddenly post the typical hashtag Mbappe 2022, people are going to start laughing at you, and they're going to think like, oh, Liverpool really cannot even afford a center back, and they think they're going to get Mbappe. I know it's like a crazy story, right? But here's what's going on. There's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration that make this transfer really possible. I'm not saying that we're more likely to get Mbappe than Madrid, but I feel like we're on the same wavelength as them to get him. So I feel like nobody has an advantage right now. Number one is his contract situation. Mbappe has a year left on his contract, actually a year and a half left of his contract. Once PSG let him go to that January transfer window next year, he's going to be able to talk to any club for free. So he's young right now. Is he like 21, 22? Yeah. He doesn't mind waiting a little longer, even if he's not happy at PSG, which he is. But even if he's not, I mean, he doesn't mind waiting. Anybody doesn't mind waiting because he's young. You know, you're going to get the best years out of him are ahead, you know. So contract situation is one. The second one is it was a report from a Spanish outlet that was actually a really reliable journalist saying that Zinedine Zidane is actually looking to leave in the summer to give himself a year off before the World Cup. I don't know if this means that he's looking to manage an international side or not, but it seems that his time is coming to an end unless things turn around in Madrid. And things are, although a little better, they're pretty bad right now. I mean, Atletico Madrid is actually leading the table in La Liga, followed by Madrid and Barcelona or something like that. The points difference is huge. They have injury issues, yes, and their quality right now is not the best. So Real Madrid as a club itself are not in the best situation as they were 3-4 years ago, you know, when they had Ronaldo and prime Modric and prime Casemiro and all these things. So that's another one. Another one that you need to look into is that PSG have already offered extension after an extension, and they keep rejecting them. All right, this is already a sign. It seems like Mbappe is looking into, based on past reports, it says that he wants assurance that the PSG team itself is going to improve, and we're going to have a side that is willing to challenge for the Champions League. They already took the first step, which is in bringing Mauricio Pochettino, but he needs to see that as far as players go. I feel like they are really comfortable with the situation that they are in the French league, but that is not a team that is going to win you the Champions League, at least not yet. So he's been rejecting offers. He has a year and a half left of contract, and there's been recent reports from France saying that in Spain that if Kylian Mbappe is not willing to accept a contract offer between now and the summer, they're going to put him for sale this summer. They're not going to let the situation go and risk losing him on a free when they can get millions for him. So you got a lot of green lights there that you can actually start putting together and thinking, okay, now getting him is possible. Now, do we have the financial power to do it? It seems like Klopp and Mbappe have a pretty good relationship. I'm pretty sure you guys saw it in the past when we played them. They were hugging, they were talking. Mbappe has that Nike deal where he is not forced, but he has to see LeBron James all the time, who, as you guys know, is a Liverpool, is 1% or 2% Liverpool owner. So there's all these links. Nike is willing to they're paying our players our shirt sales. So I was looking over a report and seeing how many shirts Mbappe sells at PSG. If we take the number of shirts, which obviously is not going to be the same, but in fact it could be even more or less. If we take something similar like that, and we get the 25% that Nike is giving Liverpool from, Mbappe is going to be able to pay for himself as far as wages go. Okay, so it's a perfect scenario that Liverpool really are in. So it's I feel like if Madrid keep going downhill, if Zinedine Zidane leaves, if they cannot assure him what he wants at PSG, there's only one club that can really get him, and I feel like that's Liverpool, who, like everybody says, is ready for a big summer ahead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But to get him, we have to sell our forward.
I don't think so. I feel like now we're getting into a position where Firmino is starting to show his age a little bit. What do I mean? I mean, yes, he's running like crazy, but before when he was a little younger, you can tell that he was actually doing a great job as a false nine. That means not only doing the false nine jobs, right, but actually scoring. Now it seems like goals are starting to deplete a little bit. He's not getting them as much. So what I think is that Firmino not only is at risk of losing his spot on the team, I also think that he's at risk of losing his position. So I feel like club is going to start getting ready to drop Firmino back to maybe a number 10 position. If that happens to happen, I feel like we could eventually see a Mane, Salah, Mbappe with a Firmino at the back lineup eventually. Because I feel like club wouldn't be happy with losing one of his front three. So we'll find a way to make him fit. I feel like Thiago and Fabinho at the back with Firmino as a 10 will work perfectly. But only time can tell, you know?
Yeah, that got me really jacked up. That's really exciting. So, I mean, if let's say like Mbappe doesn't happen, you know, a lot of people kind of like the idea of Haaland coming into our squad. I mean, have you seen any potential links there? I mean, I haven't heard too much about it. I mean, I think it's more just fans, you know, kind of hoping for somebody like that.
Yeah, it seems like he has all the attributes that we're looking at, you know? He's one of the fastest players in the world. He's so tall. So he's a deadly scorer. So and he's young. So it's just a matter of putting 2 and 2 together. There's only one player that can really help you up front, and that's him. But of course, you got to start thinking about a price tag. He does have a release clause. What that means is not only that anybody can get him for cheap, which is 37 or 47. I'm not sure what was his release clause. But that just means that there's going to be a lot of competition for him. So at the end of the day, it's really going to be who can offer more for Haaland. That's why I'm thinking more if we need someone like that, it has to be someone cheaper, someone more under the radar, and that has been scouted before, like Patson Daka, who suddenly happens to be a Liverpool fan. So I feel like we should go for someone like that instead of Haaland, where, I mean, if we get him, amazing. But I feel like competition is going to be really tough. I know Chelsea, Bayern want him. Everybody's going to want him, especially with a release clause. So, yes, he is a perfect target for a striker. But trust me that there's going to be tons more of clubs wanting him. But, yeah.
Damn.
And just going on, so in terms of Harvey Elliott, he's been like a revelation at Blackburn. and like every week he seems to be getting an assist. You know, like where do you see his future? Like, do you see him coming back into the Liverpool team next year, or do you see him better going on loan to like another Premiership club?
Harvey Elliott has really been a revelation. Yes. Do I see him coming back to Liverpool? Not next year, unless he really proves himself in preseason. This is something that Jurgen Klopp did with Ryan Kent, Harry Wilson, and who else was it? We had Ryan Brewster. So that's something that he did actually he likes doing this during preseason, testing youngsters who've been on loan or just want to be in the first team. I feel like Jurgen Klopp is going to do that in this preseason. If he proves to be worthy enough to be playing in the main Liverpool team, he'll keep him, yes. But I feel like he's too young at the moment. He's proven to be too good for the Championship at the moment, yes. But now I feel like the next step is, can you do it in the Premier League? So I feel like his next step is to go on loan into a Premier League side, maybe someone that plays similarly with what Jurgen Klopp is looking for. So I feel like that's going to be one of the things that we're going to be looking into next season. Harvey Elliott maybe looking into going into Southampton or one of those type of clubs that can somehow get similar to what the style of play that Liverpool are looking for.
Perfect. Well, to kind of close it out, have you heard any rumbling? I know we talked about players that we'd like to see potentially leave the club. Have you heard about any clubs having significant interest in any of these, any of our players that could potentially see the door in the summer?
Absolutely. I mean, at the moment, we got to look into the players that are on loan. I think a lot of those players are going to leave. Number one, I think Harry Wilson. I already named the guys. I think he's bound to leave soon. That will be my number one choice. Which we could easily cash in some good 15 to 20 million pounds just on him, which is a lot of good money. Next one, Adrian. I'm surprised that Liverpool didn't terminate his contract right now, because we need to get him to get rid of him, and we couldn't get rid of him. Obviously, Kelleher proved to be better than him, so we're going to be looking into selling him. We're going to be looking into selling Marco Grujic, like I was telling you guys, unless he proves that he could be in the team. It doesn't look likely because he's already been on loan for 2-3 years or more. Xherdan Shaqiri, despite him being really good this season, I don't think Klopp really wants to keep a player that is injury prone, a player that he can right now profit a lot from. This more comes from a financial perspective, an owner's perspective, a player that really doesn't suit his team, but more a different side. I mean, at Stoke City, we remember how good Shaqiri was. So we know that he's Premier League ready. So I feel like he should be going to one of those teams. Plus, it's already been said by many outlets, James Spears and a bunch of journalists, that last summer, we were looking into selling him. And there's offers. January, we got offers from Roma. We got offers from Lazio, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Shaqiri could also be one that could be bound to leave. Divock Origi, don't even get me started. He is the first one on the list. He is the first one on the list. I feel like now all fans and even management know that he's not ready for this Liverpool side, Mm-hmm. A different one that kind of puts me down is Ben Woodburn. I feel like he's still pretty young, but he's been on loan at multiple clubs, and he hasn't really sparked up, So it's only a matter of time until Liverpool really say, okay, you know what? Yes, you're young, but we've been giving you so many chances in so many clubs, and you're not showing up, Yes, he was the youngest scorer for Liverpool, I think, ever. But, I mean, he already had opportunities in so many clubs. I feel like Liverpool, I mean, he just terminated his loan with his recent club, which is not good at all, for not only for himself, but for us. It means that we have a youngster that is just not proving his worth in a different league, in a lower league. So I think he's going to be bound to leave. other than him, I believe that we also have Sheiji Ojo at Rangers. No, not at Rangers. What club is he on? Cardiff.
Yeah, he's at Cardiff with Wilson, isn't he?
Yes. So Sheiji Ojo. I heard we did an interview. Well, this was actually many months back with a journalist, with a fan from Cardiff, and he said that he was actually doing pretty decent for them. So I feel like that's another one that could leave. And the last one, which is more of a 50-50, is Taiwo Boniji. Taiwo, huge prospect, still no permission to play in England. So what do you call that? He needs to be able to play in England, but he needs to get like a permission, a paper or something.
Visa, I think.
Yeah, like a playing visa, a sporting visa. But he hasn't been able to because you need certain requirements, like either play for your international side, play a certain amount of games for your club that you're on loan. So he's probably gonna come back. I feel like he's definitely gonna get the visa that he's been searching for many years. But it seems like he's more of a fit to the Bundesliga. He did amazing in Mainz. He's doing really, really good right now at Union Berlin. And he knows that if he comes to Liverpool, he's not going to get those minutes. He knows he can easily be a star at the Bundesliga, or somewhere else. So I feel like he's going to take that into consideration, and he's probably going to leave. So I feel like all those are the names that we're looking at probably losing in the summer.
Well, it'd be great if we could, shed some of that. That'd be some great funds to raise for another center back, or God knows if Mbappe becomes available this summer, put some funds towards that. But I think I can speak for everyone. I got a ton more clarity and a lot more understanding of what's happening behind the scenes at Liverpool. But Dan, thanks so much for joining us, man. This was an awesome episode, and we're definitely going to have to, have our usual conversation once the summer window opens back up, and we have a clearer picture on what's happening.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me and letting me rant on Divock Origi and all these players that I'm tired of seeing. Hopefully, we can do it again. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, it was great. But everyone who's tuned in the chat, we appreciate you guys asking your questions. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead and do it now. It allows us to get a bigger audience and have more Liverpool fans see this. And if you haven't checked out LFC Transfer Room, check out their Twitter page, but also check out their website. A bunch of awesome blogs in there, a lot of good articles, a lot of good knowledgeable things in there. So definitely make sure you check it out. But otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow for Friday's final word. We're going to just kind of recap the week and talk about Liverpool and just, bring us your thoughts, anything you want to talk about. But otherwise, up the Reds, and we'll see you guys next time.
All the Reds.